Hi, I'm Kareem.
Hey, I'm Sarita. This is Elijah.
Hi, I'm John.
I am Jill.
This is Harley, and this is our Trisomy 18 story.
And this is our Trisomy 18 story.
We got our official diagnosis at 20 weeks with an amniocentesis.
So we got our diagnosis at about 20 weeks pregnant. We were at just a routine doctor's visit, and an ultrasound showed some anomalies.
We went and got that done. We were waiting for our results. The doctor called us and told us what the results said.
And from that visit, our OB sent us to a maternal fetal medicine specialist who confirmed the trisomy 18 diagnosis.
And he didn't tell us anything else about it, just that
It's Trisomy 18.
Trisomy 18.
We were given this diagnosis, and not only have we not heard of it ever.
Didn't explain what that was, which of course we didn't know.
We were told to find a support group and to not do a Google search.
He said, don't Google it. We'll talk about it in a couple weeks at your appointment.
So what do? First thing, you look for a support group.
Exactly.
And you go and Google search what you're getting into. Absolutely.
Of course we Google it because you don't know what's going on inside of you, so you need to know.
And naturally, there was not anything, well, at that time, there was not any good that you could find about trisomy 18. It was all just horrific images of babies that, yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough time.
Right.
Tough time.
Trisomy 18, when you Google it, it's changed a little bit since then, but back then, it was nothing but doom and gloom. It was basically no hope offered at all.
I think I can just remember not wanting to be there.
So we did that, and then instant tears from then on. So 20 weeks on, we just cried because nobody gave us any hope.
How I felt was, I guess I was hurt because I couldn't fix what was wrong. I guess her official title is nurse practitioner. Gave us the hopeless information that the diagnosis not only was almost certain, but the mortality rate was like 99.9%.
Basically, no hope offered at all, which we found out later
That all these kids are incompatible with life and they can't save them.
But later we found out that wasn't true.
Yes.
Yeah, that was to parents with 4 other children. That was like a real bummer, man. Like I don't think you could go any lower than that.
And I don't think there were really any resources available either, or at least we didn't feel like there were. We were given a printout of information about what trisomy 18 is.
I went into labor at 35 weeks. Harley decided to break my water then.
We were induced at 39 weeks. Yes, we were induced at 39 weeks, and I labored 16 and a half hours. Even after being induced, it was the longest process.
I told my stepsons, grab our bags. I'm in labor. We need to go to the hospital. He's like, really? I think, yes, really. We need to go. So he called Dad and told him that we were headed there. I drove over, and the ER lady told me to have a seat and wait for them to come down. I said, no, I'm not sitting down anywhere. So she let us, finally came down. They got us up there and got me hooked up to monitors and everything else to keep record of her heart rate and check everything and see if I was having contractions yet.
I did choose not to have a heart monitor because we were told that he would probably pass away in utero or during the delivery process or shortly after. So I did choose not to have a heart monitor because I did not want to hear that his heart had stopped, something that they had prepared us for.
So then the midwife came in the room, very subdued, very low tone, saying they couldn't keep track of Harley's heart rate. And just, she very soft, and you could tell she was preparing us for something probably bad. And she said, what do you want to do? Or something to that effect. Probably louder than I should. I yelled, "Well, go in and get her." And that's what they did.
So they called the on-call midwife, called our regular OB and told her to come in because we were going to get set up for a emergency C-section. So by the time they got me to the operating room, got all the medication in that needed to be delivered, my regular OB walked in and she's like, "Are you ready?" I was like, "Go ahead and get her." So it probably took, it seemed like forever to me, but it took us probably about 20, 30 minutes for her to get in there and take her out.
It seemed like forever to me too.
But yeah, they got her, and we had a birth plan set up to do all necessary measures for her. So they did, and they got her out.
And then after delivery, once he was born, the doctors, they pretty much, put him in the little bed and looked at the clock for a little bit. And they said that he looked consistent with the diagnosis that we had been given prenatally.
I told John to go down to the NICU with her because that's where she needed to be at for more support.
Now, in this situation, it's not just to go with her.
No.
I'm looking at my daughter on the little portable incubator, and they had to use the bag valve mask a little bit. Not long, but for probably a couple of minutes to help her pink up a little bit. Meanwhile,
I'm out of it.
She's out of it, but she doesn't look so hot because, that she just had a C-section. And so it was very much like, do I go with my daughter? Do I go stay with my wife? What's going on? And she very definitively said, go with Harley. So
the thing that sticks out to me the most was the fact that the doctors continued to come in, and you had doctors that come in intervals and just continued to ask questions. For me, I had no idea because I'm not that savvy when it comes to medical terminologies. And my wife, who was the patient and was incapacitated. But I do remember them asking about things like intubation and chest compressions and things of that nature. I couldn't get an answer for that, so I had to call on Jesus at this point and say, "Hey, this guy's asking me questions that I have no idea. I don't even understand what he's saying to me, and there's probably not enough time for him to explain to me what these terms mean so that I could choose one of them." And Jesus stepped in and said at that moment, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter because none of that stuff is necessary." That, as you can see, that was not necessary. He's never had to have oxygen or didn't have to have any of those life-sustaining or rescuing measures to date. And we thank God for it.
Harley she's 4, she'll be 5 in June. And life is very busy. She has a schedule that keeps Mom very busy while I'm at work, and still manage to keep us both busy when I'm home. Harley has a G-tube. She's fed exclusively through the G-tube, doesn't take anything by mouth. So feedings are, of course, 3 times a day like anyone else, but they take about an hour.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Hour and 20 minutes. So there's prep time, there's the delivery time, there's the cleanup time. Twice a day, she has a percussion vest to keep her lungs clear that she does, and that's a half hour each.
Mm-hmm. And plus going to therapies twice a week. We do PT and OT in clinic. So we're out the door to those whatever time they're scheduled. We do those, plus everyday stuff that we do. I mean, just everyday household stuff that needs to be done. Still keeping us fed, keeping her fed. And it's just an added bonus to keep her happy and enjoy to watch her grow and thrive.
Elijah is almost 4. He is almost 4. He'll celebrate his 4th birthday on March 28th. And, what is life like with a trisomy 18 child? It has its adventures, and it has,
Right.
challenges in terms of just, it was just a really, really hard process to get doctors to feel that he was worth life-sustaining measures. And so, at this point, I think we have reached a place of tolerance when it comes to physicians, and we know how to advocate for him, and we know how to change doctors if we're not satisfied with the conversations that we're having. And so life is it's not terrible. It's one of those things you learn how to care for a child that's slightly different than your other kids, just in terms of medical, but just as far as activity and play and interaction, engagement, he has that just like the other kids. He's just super tiny to be 4.
Right.
He does have developmental delay. He has sound, but no words. And so
he communicates the same as the rest of the kids. He just does it in his own way.
Right.
He does it the Elijah way.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we knew then what we know now. But I think every parent in this situation faces a learning curve because you're used to being able to trust the physicians that are advising you. But they're not all up to date on what's going on, what survival rates are, what the current treatment is. So like we would have chosen a totally different facility. There's a term in the community called trisomy friendly, meaning is the hospital progressive? Do they aggressively treat our children? The hospital she was born at was not trisomy friendly. Of course, we didn't know that at the time. And I like to say that Harley fought for herself. She's a fighter until we learned how to fight for her.
I think one thing that I would have done differently is maybe spoken up sooner. But I think I raised my voice when I learned that I really needed to. I think having a background in healthcare, I never thought that there would be a situation where a doctor would refuse you care or a doctor would refuse you treatment. And so that was kind of a shocker to me to be in that space because I never would have thought that would have been something that could happen, not just to us, but just to anybody. I just never would have thought that a doctor would actually refuse you care or treatment until it happened with us. And so I
think that was possible. Like for me, I again, a novice when it comes to medical terminologies and such, I had no idea that a board-certified doctor could determine whether a human life was worth attempting to rescue or not. Like, that was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
To have somebody say about this kid, well, he has jaundice, for example. Well, don't worry, just lay him in the sun for a couple hours every day, and that may help.
Right. To say that it's not worth the resources, or to say that if we document that it wasn't medically necessary, your insurance won't pay. I mean, so just hindsight being 2020, just really looking back on it, those were bully words. That was bully language. And we didn't realize that at the time. So I think if I had to do anything differently, I would raise my voice as loud as I do now
Yes.
sooner than I did.
And so I would say we would have started advocating um, prior to being angry.
Well, the advice I'd give is that go out there and talk to your current providers, your healthcare providers, find out if they are willing to treat a trisomy 18 child, what they believe about trisomy 18. Do they think it's incompatible with life, which is just not the case? And then research. I would bring studies in with our during our appointments when Jill was pregnant, say, look, here's the current data. I always say let's follow some evidence-based medicine, and the evidence says that these children are surviving. That with aggressive treatment, these children are having a fulfilling life. I also would caution that you're really going to find out who your friends are. When you have a special needs child, people, for any number of reasons, they're uncomfortable, whatever, they kind of disappear. So those that you were close to before, you may not be now. But on the flip side of that, the trisomy 18 community, no matter where you're at in life, is big, and it is supportive, and it is loving. And we have found friends there from all over the country, some international, that we communicate with on a daily basis, and we all support one another in our journey.
Never lose hope. It's all they can't take that away from you. So keep that in your back pocket, because it's always there. Yes.
So someone who's just received their diagnosis, whether they are pregnant or if it's post-delivery, I would say get as much information as you can from reliable sources. There's a lot of information online. All of it is not correct. It's not. It hasn't been vetted by a geneticist or a physician. I would say, just try to connect with somebody in the healthcare space early, somebody who is trisomy friendly. Because you will run across physicians who, because they don't support trying to create interventions for trisomy babies, they may still give you some information that's different than what you're wanting to experience. So if you know that you're wanting to fight for your trisomy 18 child, I would say start looking for trisomy-friendly physicians and hospitals, and even a trisomy-friendly OB if it's a process where you're pregnant. If your OB seems to have that narrative of there is no hope, change.
And I would say don't trust doctors at a professional level, but not in advocating for your son or daughter, and follow your heart, and not just don't hang your hat on every word that the doctor says, especially if they're that kind of doctor that deem trisomy 18 as I learned this in medical school and it's incompatible with life, it's 99% mortality rate, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the doctors that I would definitely advise to stay away from, because there's always another. There's always another therapist. There's always another delivery doctor. There's always another pediatrician that will actually be more than willing to help you in your situation. So don't, as sad as the news is to get, there is hope. That would be my advice to don't lose your hope.